Hey guys, Mr. Asserson here. I'm going to try to make this video about hypnosis and hopefully go over everything on the note guide. I'm not going to make it in this week. It looks like things are getting worse, not better. So, at any rate, I didn't want to leave you stranded without any notes, so I'm making this video to try to help with that. So, the first thing about hypnosis is it real? Um, and I know some of you maybe have been hypnotized, or maybe you've been to the fair where the hypnotist brings people up on stage and hypnotizes a bunch of people. Um, so, some of you have some experience with it. And the answer is that yes, hypnosis is real. It's a real phenomena. It works on lots of people, but there are about 10% of the population that cannot be hypnotized. And there's some people that it's easier to hypnotize, and those people generally have like a fantasy prone mind where they have a very rich imagination and they already tend to maybe go off into their own thoughts sometimes. And then those people are maybe a little easier to hypnotize. So there's a couple theories about what hypnosis is and how it works. One of them is called the role theory or social influence theory. So role theory is the idea that hypnosis isn't really happening, that the person being hypnotized is just playing a role, like acting out a role, and the role is good hypnotic subject. So, like when you go to the fair, some of you maybe have done this yourselves. They're being hypnotized, and the person's up on the stage, and they're just playing along with the hypnotist, even though they're not being hypnotized. So that's the role theory. Another theory is called the dissociation theory. And for this theory, we have to think back to when we learned about dissociative identity disorder. And we talked about dissociation being the mind sort of splitting, fracturing into different parts or two parts. And we talked about the fact that everybody's mind does this to some degree or another. The example I used earlier in the year was imagine yourself driving, and have you ever sort of been lost in your own thoughts and forgot to make a turn or forgot where you were going? So that happens to a lot of people. So our minds have this tendency to kind of split and have two different layers of consciousness. So dissociation theory, which is also called the divided consciousness theory, says that hypnosis causes a split in awareness that occurs in normal life but is accentuated in hypnosis. And the idea is that our mind can focus on more than one thing, and hypnosis magnifies that skill. Okay, so those are the two main theories of dissociation or of hypnosis, and I think you can probably tell that both theories are true some of the time. Now there's some terminology we need to know with hypnosis. The phrases age regression, post-hypnotic suggestion, and post-hypnotic amnesia are all important terms. So age regression is the idea that while you're hypnotized, the hypnotist can make you go back to an earlier age, like you can act like you were when you were 5. And people think that doesn't really actually happen. That when someone's hypnotized and the hypnotist asks them to go back to an earlier age, they're not really going back to an earlier age. They're just pretending to act like what they think a child acts like. A couple of other terms are real: post-hypnotic suggestion and post-hypnotic amnesia. Post-hypnotic suggestion is when the hypnotist says, when you come out of the hypnotic state, you will do X, Y, Z. And so that could be at the fair, the guy might say, you will cluck like a chicken when I say the word red. So that's the post-hypnotic suggestion. In real life, in therapy, so a therapist could use hypnosis and say, when you come out of hypnosis, you will not crave cigarettes anymore. And that can work for a little while, and that can be helpful to people who have a smoking habit. Post-hypnotic amnesia is when you can't remember, you come out of the hypnotic state, but you can't remember what happened while you were hypnotized. And so the hypnotist will say, when I snap my fingers and you come out of the state, you will not remember what happened. And that is a real phenomena also. That does definitely happen. Okay, so those are the main theories and some terminology. A couple other things. I don't know how long this video is getting, but there's some facts and myths we could go over real quick. One is that there's an idea out there that hypnosis can enhance recall, can enhance your memory, and it can help, but it doesn't help any more than other memory methods. And there's also a danger of the hypnotist suggesting a memory and planting it, and then when you wake up, you having this memory that isn't real. It was just planted by the hypnotist. So that's a danger. Because of that, there's a question of, can we use hypnosis to help solve crimes? Can we hypnotize witnesses and have them remember stuff? That is not an admissible practice in court of law because hypnotized subjects can be suggested and memories can be planted. Can you be forced to act against your will while you're hypnotized? You can if it's something that doesn't really matter, like if it's some insignificant thing, like the hypnotist makes you cluck like a chicken. But you cannot be forced to act against your will if it's something that's important, like murdering someone or taking all your clothes off or something that you would find morally objectionable. You cannot be forced to do that sort of thing when you're hypnotized. Can hypnotism work as a therapy? Yes, it can. It can help people with smoking problems, with drinking problems. It usually isn't a permanent solution. People who are trying to quit smoking might get hypnotized and then they might go back 2 weeks or a month later. So it might be something they do over and over again, and it helps because the effect tends to wear off over time. The last thing is, can hypnotism alleviate pain? And there is research that suggests yes, that it can. There's one study where they had people put their hands in a bucket of ice water, and the hypnotized subjects who were told, you do not feel pain, were able to keep their hands in the bucket of water much longer, and they were able to tolerate the pain much more. Okay, so I think that's about everything on the note guide. I hope that's useful. I'm going to try to put this video on Google Classroom and get it to you. Sorry I cannot be there. At any rate, if you have any questions about this, you can email me. That would be a great way to get in touch. Okay, all right, I hope everything's well. And by the way, Jackson Coles was in the newspaper again. I don't know if you saw it or not, but you can check out the sports page today. All right, bye.